Good morning. It may be any part of the day, but I am deliberately saying good morning because whenever you start studying, it is morning. Morning, which brings light, light, which symbolizes knowledge. So, I, Kirti Tiwari, Professor of English, is again with you with my second part of the lecture on semantics. In the first part, I had dealt with what is semantics, its brief history, conception of meaning, types of meaning, and synonymy. In this, I would discuss the sense relationships that exist between words like synonymy, antonymy, polysymy, and homonymy. Semantics is a part of linguistics, which is study of language. Language, as we know, to quote Fromkin, is that system by which sounds and meanings are related. Modern linguistics make an in-depth study of words and sentences to understand meaning. But words are actually quite ambiguous. This term is not always very clear. To avoid ambiguity or confusion, another term is used by linguists, that is Lexeme. So it is used instead of the term word. An example will make it clear. Say, for instance, sing, sings, singing, and sang. They could be regarded as different words, but actually they are the variants of the same underlying unit, sing. This gives rise to a doubt. A natural question that comes into our mind is that if the variants are referred to as words, how should the underlying unit be referred to? So, as I said, they are referred to as lexemes. In fact, lexemes are the basic units of semantic analysis. Semantics is also a branch which studies the semantic structure and sense relationships between the words. These kind of relationships can be of two types: syntagmatic or paradigmatic. Syntagmatic relations are those in which lexemes occur in sequences. Like marriage is an auspicious, natural words could be occasion, marriage is an auspicious occasion, or marriage is an auspicious event. So we can say either way. Paradigmatic relations tell us how lexemes can be substituted for each other. Take for example, is that a new car? No, it is an old car. So we are talking about the same car, and we are substituting old instead of new. So now it is time to understand what is synonymy. After understanding what is semantics. According to Webster's Comprehensive Dictionary of English Language, synonymy is the science or systematic collection and study of synonyms. The use and nice distinction of synonyms. Synonymy is also referred to as synonymics, and as David Crystal says, synonymy is the relationship of sameness of meaning. He gives the example kingly, which can have synonyms like royal and legal. Similarly, pavement or sidewalk, youth or youngsters. All these are synonymous words. Synonymy can also be classified into two categories. According to John Lyons, synonymy can be stricter or looser. Stricter in the case in which lexical items A and B might be identical in sense. Say for instance, if we say I saw a madman, we can also say, replacing madman with lunatic, I saw a lunatic. So this is identical, exactly it fits, it's exact synonym. Loose synonymy occurs when the two items are relative in sense. For example, nice has several synonyms like good, pleasing and fine, but they are not strictly synonymous. Now, when we try to search synonyms, we find that it's a long process and discover that exact synonyms are difficult to find. David Crystal therefore says there are usually stylistic, regional, emotional or other differences to consider, and context must be taken into account. So, you can't say that this word has the synonym and it is the exact synonym. We will have to see the context in which a particular word is used and then find its appropriate synonym. David Crystal also says two lexemes might be synonymous in one sense, but it can be different in another. For example, if you take range and selection, they are synonymous. You can say what a nice range of furnishings. And in this expression, you can substitute range with selection without much change in meaning. What a nice selection of furnishings. But if you take another expression and try to use both, there is the mountain range. That is fine, it gives meaning. But you can't say there is the mountain selection. That is why Dr. Johnson has commented, words are seldom exactly synonymous. You can't find exact synonyms always. So we have seen how contexts are important while using a synonym. Each member of a group of related words has equal validity and usefulness in its own context. So it depends upon the context. The same word in a different context will take a different synonym. Again, we give the example of Webster's Comprehensive Dictionary of English Language. He gives a very interesting example. A simple word like steel. In different contexts, we use different synonym of this word. Let us see, all these synonyms are written in blue color, as you can see in this expressions. Let us take these sentences. We might speak of a thief as having stolen a wallet, but a child flitches candy from a store. So if a child is stealing, it is said he flitches candy from a store. Similarly, if a soldier steals from the supplies, army supply, we say a soldier pilfers army supplies. In the same way, valuable document is purloined, while funds are embezzled. Bandits may rob all whom they meet, but they plunder the countryside. So, for the same word steal, we use different synonyms in different contexts. What Macaulay observes about Milton's diction, Milton's use of words, is actually true for all. He talks about Milton's poetry and says if you substitute one synonym for another, the whole effect will be destroyed. Similarly, if we substitute one synonym for the other, because exact synonyms are hard to find, if we try to substitute, then the effect would be gone. Now we come to another sense relationship which is opposite of synonymy, it is antonymy. I quote David Crystal words to describe this relationship. He says, antonymy is the relationship of oppositeness of meaning. Lyons defines antonym as the words which are opposite in meaning, and antonymy is the oppositeness between words. For example, if you take the pair buy and sell, it's a pair of antonyms, and the relation between the two terms is known as antonymy. Leach puts forward the definition of antonym and antonymy in semantics, that the opposite meaning between the words is antonymy and word of opposite meaning is antonym. So it's quite similar. To take definition of another famous linguist from China, Hu Zhuangling, he says antonymy is the name for oppositeness relations. So all these definitions give us a clear idea about what is antonymy and what are antonyms. Antonyms are the words having the sense of oppositeness, and the word antonym has originated from Greek antonymia, which is a compound of two anti, which means opposite, and onyma, which stands for name. Here there is a difference between synonyms and antonyms. I have just explained that how it is difficult to find exact synonyms, but you can find exact antonyms. Antonyms can be classified into three. Generally, all opposites are called antonyms, but efforts have been made to classify them for the sake of clarity. So let us understand these classification. They can be gradable antonyms, non-gradable antonyms, and converse. Gradable antonyms can be understood by the examples like big versus small, good versus bad. These opposites have degrees. Also, you can also say very big or quite small. So such lexemes are mostly adjectives and they indicate exact oppositeness, polar oppositeness. It also means that if you deny one thing, you do not necessarily assert other. So suppose if you say that it's not hot, it doesn't mean that it is cold, because it could be hot, cold, or it could be also warm and cool. So you have intermediate degrees of heat, and so it is gradable. Then we have non-gradable antonyms that are also complementary and they include pairs like awake, asleep, married, single, pass versus fail, alive versus dead, and male versus female. According to Cruz, the essence of a pair of complementary antonym is that between them they exhaustively divide some conceptual domain into two mutually exclusive compartments. So that what does not fall into one of the compartments necessarily fall into the other. The members of the antonym pairs of this kind is complementary to each other. So if you take the example that if you say someone is a female, that means you are denying that he is a male, she is a male. The denial of male is the assertion of female, and assertion of female is the denial of male. If you say she is a woman, she is female, means she is not male. It's understood. They don't have the comparative of superlative degree as we have in adjectives and all. and they don't have the intermediate degree between the two words of an antonym pair, so they are not gradable. They come under the category of non-gradable. The third kind of oppositeness is converseness. This is the sense relationship which exists in pairs like husband and wife, doctor and patient, teacher and student, buy versus sell, above versus below, employer versus employee. So all these pairs show a reversible relationship. So if A is B's husband, that means B is A's wife. Similarly, if A is B's doctor, that means B is A's patient. If A is B's teacher, means B is A's student. So, such pairs are called relational opposites. However, Egdon described that these antonym pairs, which include such a relationship that one of them cannot be used without suggesting the other. Similarly, David Crystal says, I quote, two-way contrasts that are interdependent. One member presupposes the other. Husband presupposes wife, wife presupposes husband. Or in a way, if there is a buyer, there ought to be a seller. So buy and sell are interdependent. This antonymy is quite significant because knowledge of antonyms, sharpens our sense of the word's meaning. Again, taking the help of dictionary, I would say that Webster's dictionary very well says in introduction part, quote, words that are opposed or contrasted in meaning furnish oddly enough a valuable extension of the definitions of the words involved. So, in a way, they help us to understand a word better. Now, we come to another relationship which is polysymy. This word has originated again from the classical language Greek, where poly stands for many and sim means sign or meaning. David Crystal defines the term in this way. Polysymy refers to cases where lexeme has more than one meaning. For example, chip can mean a piece of wood, food, or electronic circuit. So, a single word conveying different meanings. Very good example, a piece of wood, a chip of wood, or even a morsel of food, or chips are also say banana chips or potato chips. Those chips quite popular. That is food. And you have the chip while using computer. Also you come across the word electronic circuit. This term is quite old, used in the last part of the 19th century, when Michel Réal, a French scholar, introduced it in Essai de Semantique. He was of the opinion that it is because of semantic change. Now, let us see how this polysymy is caused. The most common is due to shift in application. Means if the same word is used in different contexts, it will mean different. Say for instance a simple word like red. If you use it with ink, red ink, it will be color of the ink. Red deer, it is the species. Red cabbage is the variety of cabbage. Red Indian is a race of humans. So red used in different application gives rise to difference of meanings. Social setting or environment can also give rise to different meanings. Take the word partner. So in society you find so many kinds of partners. Partner is often a companion. So you have business partner. If two people are doing business together, they are called business partners. Then husband and wife are known as marriage partner. Then if a couple is dancing, they are called dancing partners. In the play you have tennis partner, and even in crime, partner in crime. And when two people share the same room, they are room partners. So partner basically is a type of relationship that exists between two or more people. But again, all partners are not same. A business partner is totally different from a marriage partner. Then another source of polysymy could be metaphors. Metaphors are comparisons. I hope you know that. It comes under most common figures of speech. Let me brush up your knowledge. You often hear similes and metaphors. Similes are when you compare two people and say one is like the other, then that is a simile. But if you say one is the other or A is B, then that is a metaphor. For example, if you say he fought like a lion, that would be a simile, because you are comparing the person with a lion. But if you say that he was the lion of the fight, then you are actually presenting him as a lion. So that is a metaphor. So we have different, like human body, the body word used metaphorically. Human body, heavenly body, body politic, and body of a liquid. Polysymy is also a very important concept in humanities. Analysis of different meanings help us understand the semantic structure. Then we come to another sense relationship, which is homonymy. Again, I would like to quote David Crystal, who says, I quote, Homonymy refers to cases where two or more different lexemes have the same shape. Shape means the way it is written, the spelling which appears when we see a word. For example, bank, B-A-N-K. Bank stands for building also and an area of ground. So homonyms are those lexemes that are half identical in shape. Again, if we go to dictionary, Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary rightly explains homonyms as a word that is spelled like another word. The spelling is the same and sometimes the pronunciation also, but which has a different meaning. It carries different meaning. So see, bank, B-A-N-K, spelling is the same, pronunciation is the same, but it can convey two meanings. Thus both homophones and homographs can be regarded as homonyms. If we go in detail, homophones, phones are sounds. So these words themselves are quite clear. Homophones are the words having same pronunciation, but spellings and meanings are different. Say for instance, SOME and SUM. Spelling is different, meaning is also different, but pronunciation is the same, some. Homographs are the words that are spelled like another word but have different meanings, and it can have different pronunciations. Take the simple word WIND. So the graph, that is, spelling is the same, WIND, but wind, when refers to air movement, is a noun, but wind, the part of speech is different verb and it means bend. Though the spelling is same, pronunciation is different and meaning is also different. If we try to find the sources of homonymy, it could be a result of affixation. To clarify through an example, reader. Reader is a word which can mean a person who reads, or even a book meant for reading is known as reader, primary reader. Another source could be abbreviations. Say for instance, COD. This can mean concise Oxford Dictionary, or another which is very common when you order products online, cash on delivery option. So both are COD. So in a way, polysymy and homonymy appear to be similar concepts because they refer to words having multiple meanings. However, there are several distinctions. So let us see how they differ from each other. In this table, which I have taken from encyclopedia.com, the left hand table gives the characteristics of polysymy, whereas on the right you will find that of homonymy. So polysymy is the coexistence of many possible meanings for a phrase or a word. And homonymy refers to unrelated words that look or sound the same. Polysymy have different but related meanings, and homonymy have completely different meanings. Polysymy have related word origins, whereas homonymy have different origins. Polysymous words are listed under one entry in dictionary, while homonyms are found listed separately in a dictionary. Polysymous words can be understood if you know the meaning of one word, but meaning of homonyms cannot be guessed since the words have unrelated meaning. To come to conclusion, we can say that dictionaries treat cases of multiple meanings as polysymy or homonymy. But it's not always very clear. That is why David Crystal gives the examples of table and pupil to explain the phenomena. If you take up the word table, it can mean a piece of furniture, and it can also mean arrangement of data. But they are treated as same words having two meanings because they share the same etymology. Now, pupil, that is another word for a student in a school, and pupil of the eye, they are regarded as different birds, although their historical origin is the same. So this is about the different sense relationships, and we have got a clear idea about it. Here I come to the end of my lecture on semantics. The list of books that you see on the screen are the works that I have consulted while preparing this lecture. You will find that I have used a number of dictionaries simply because we have come across number of new terms, and whenever we come across a new term, we often refer to, and we ought to refer to, good dictionaries. So here I end the second part of my lecture and hope to meet you soon in the third part, which I will be uploading shortly, and that will deal with not only collocation and set but also some questions related to this topic. Till then, happy reading.